Byun Woo-seok's tender lean on Kim Hye-yoon's shoulder sparks frenzy among fans. Was it just a friendly gesture, or something far more intimate? One soft moment. One affectionate lean. And suddenly the internet is in a whirlwind of speculation. Fans are replaying the scene on loop. Searching for clues in every glance, every breath. Could this be the beginning of a real-life romance between the beloved co-stars? Join Red Carpet Revealed as we dive into the behind-the-scenes buzz, the fan reactions, and the emotional storm ignited by one unforgettable moment. Uncover the truth, together. It was the kind of moment that no one sees coming, but once it happens, the internet can't stop replaying it. A small, tender gesture, barely a second long, but enough to turn whispers into roars, glances into headlines, and co-stars into the subject of wild fan theories. On a brightly lit set, somewhere between the final shot of a K-drama episode and a few idle minutes of rest, Byun Woo-seok leaned ever so gently against Kim Hye-yoon's shoulder. Not as a scene direction. Not for a camera flash. Just quietly. Naturally. Like something instinctual. That 1 second of stillness, captured by a behind-the-scenes staffer and posted to a production update video, shattered the internet's usual calm. Fans didn't just watch, they felt something. The kind of softness that suggested familiarity, trust, maybe even affection. Within hours, the clip had been clipped, cropped, zoomed, slowed down, and looped thousands of times across every major social platform. TikTok was flooded with edits. Twitter trended hashtags like Woo-yoon and Byun High Love. Instagram exploded with speculative fan art and even fictional storyboards that imagined what happened next after that lean. The scene itself wasn't remarkable on the surface. They were seated next to each other during a costume adjustment break, surrounded by staff and co-stars. But in the midst of the usual bustle, Byun Woo-seok's body seemed to unconsciously drift toward her. His head gently touched Kim Hye-yoon's shoulder, not enough to demand attention, but just enough to send fans into a tailspin. Kim Hye-yoon didn't flinch. In fact, she smiled. Softly. Almost like she had been waiting for that moment to happen. In that smile, fans saw a world. And for many, it was all the proof they needed that something deeper was blooming between the two. Byun Woo-seok and Kim Hye-yoon had been making headlines even before this tender moment. Ever since they were cast together in a romantic drama that tested emotional resilience, emotional growth, and personal transformation, audiences had fallen in love with their on-screen chemistry. But chemistry, no matter how compelling, is a currency in K-drama. What made theirs stand apart was how effortless it all seemed, how it refused to stay confined to the screen. From the moment the show's teaser dropped, fans noticed how their eyes found each other even when the cameras weren't rolling. During press conferences, their answers were professional, but the way they would glance sideways, laugh at the same time, or subtly mirror each other's gestures told a more intriguing story. Kim Hye-yoon once jokingly called him annoyingly perfect during a press event. Byun Woo-seok responded with, "I just try to match the energy of my co-star, who's annoyingly magnetic." The crowd laughed. But for a fans tuned into subtext, that exchange hit differently. The two had always been respected for their craft. Kim Hye-yoon, known for her emotional intelligence on screen, had built a reputation as someone who could make even the quietest scene thunder with meaning. Byun Woo-seok, often praised for his elegance and understated charm, had carved out a niche as a leading man with depth. When the two were brought together, industry insiders whispered that something quietly powerful was happening. During filming, rumors of their closeness began to swirl. Staff members described them as inseparable between takes, huddling together to go over lines, or simply to share jokes and snacks. One lighting technician even claimed that they had their own inside jokes that no one else understood. "They talk in half sentences sometimes," he said. "Always get each other. It's weirdly cute." Still, the pair maintained a graceful distance in public. They didn't fan the flames. They didn't post selfies. They didn't even interact much on social media. Perhaps that's what made their connection feel even more genuine. It was unforced, subtle, almost sacred. Came the lean, the moment that shattered the calm they had tried to maintain. Suddenly, what had been quiet admiration turned into passionate speculation. Comment sections exploded with declarations. "They're in love. You can't fake that. I've never seen Byun Woo-seok that relaxed around anyone. The way she smiles when he leans on her, it's like she's home." Theories followed. Some fans went deep, digging into past interviews, comparing other behind-the-scenes clips, noting that this wasn't the first time Byun Woo-seok had been physically close to her. There were freeze frames of their hands brushing while sharing scripts, lingering eye contact during cast photos. Even a blurry fan photo of them allegedly arriving at the same restaurant hours apart. No confirmation, of course. But when people want to believe, even the faintest clue becomes a revelation. Industry insiders began to take note, too. Known entertainment columnist wrote a piece titled "When Chemistry Becomes Something More." Praising the duo for their organic synergy, she added, "Some pairs work well because of clever writing or smart directing. Others work because something unseen is happening between them. With Byun Woo-seok and Kim Hye-yoon, it's the latter." What added fuel to the already blazing fire was the absence of denial. Neither star addressed the clip. No agency rushed out a statement to shut things down. There was only silence. And that silence screamed louder than any press release. As it came to be known, wasn't just a physical gesture. It became symbolic. It represented the fragile possibility of something real, untainted by PR machines or manufactured romance. Fans started writing fan fiction. Illustrated entire storyboards of Woo-seok resting on Hye-yoon's shoulder during a rainstorm, on a subway ride, at home on a couch after a long day of filming. Who had transcended its moment and become myth. The beauty of it all, perhaps, was in its fragility. Brand confessions. No publicized dates. Just a quiet, intentional moment of connection. The kind of moment that lives in soft memories and half-spoken words. Kind of moment that doesn't need to be explained because it simply exists. Still, as speculation grew, curiosity about how the pair would respond in future interviews and events. Would they address the buzz? Would they maintain the professional boundary they'd held for months? Or would another quiet gesture slip through, confirming what so many already believed? The drama neared its finale. Fans eagerly anticipated press appearances, awards show nominations, parties, any excuse for the two to be in the same space again. Every glance would be analyzed. Every smile dissected. But what no one could deny anymore was that something had changed. Byun Woo-seok's lean wasn't just a moment of physical contact. It was the spark that ignited 1,000 hearts and rewrote the way fans saw their beloved co-stars. And Kim Hye-yoon's smile? It wasn't just a reaction. It was a reply. A silent whisper back across the space between them that said, "I don't mind. Stay." Their relationship, real, rumored, imagined, had become more than just a topic of gossip. It had become a story people wanted to believe in. A story where affection wasn't loud but honest. Where intimacy wasn't bold but tender. Where love, perhaps, leaned in softly and stayed for a while. The ripple effects of Byun Woo-seok's gentle lean on Kim Hye-yoon's shoulder didn't end with a trending clip or a surge of fan-made content. In fact, that single moment became the emotional epicenter of something much larger, something that transcended mere fan excitement and transformed into public longing for a romance too delicate to be confined to headlines. It wasn't just about whether they were dating. It was about the kind of connection people yearned to believe in. The kind of love that doesn't need to be broadcast to feel real. In the days that followed, the entertainment media remained unusually quiet. No denials. No explanations. Just more silence. But that silence wasn't empty. It was filled with 1,000 interpretations. Each one layered with the hope that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a marketing ploy or a promotional accident. Maybe it was a genuine moment that slipped through the cracks of their well-guarded public personas. What emerged from that silence were even more observations, fan detectives hard at work, pulling stills from past interviews, scanning red carpet footage, revisiting older behind-the-scenes clips. And what they found only deepened the emotional pull of this unfolding story. There was the clip where Woo-seok subtly adjusted Hye-yoon's mic while she was mid-sentence. The time he instinctively reached out to steady her when she tripped slightly on set. And the undeniable softness in his expression whenever her name was mentioned. But perhaps the most telling moment came from an unedited rehearsal tape that quietly leaked on a fan forum. In the video, the two were preparing for a particularly emotional scene. The actor gave notes. The staff moved about. But in the quiet before the take, Woo-seok reached out and held Hye-yoon's hand, not dramatically. Not for the scene, just held it. She didn't flinch. She smiled and gave his hand a gentle squeeze. For those few seconds, everything else disappeared. They were just two people, locked in a moment, bracing for something difficult and doing it together. No words were exchanged, but the message was unmistakable. The fan response to this was immediate and intense. Online communities flooded with emotional reactions. This is the kind of quiet love that makes your chest ache. I've watched that hand hold 20 times and it still feels like a confession. They don't need to say it, we already know. People weren't just rooting for them. They were emotionally invested in them. Not as actors. As two souls seemingly destined to collide. And still, the silence held. Their agencies, when asked directly, offered only neutral statements. Their close colleagues with great respect for one another, the usual. But fans weren't buying it, not out of wishful thinking, but because the evidence felt too human. Unrehearsed to be anything but real. What struck many observers, especially seasoned entertainment reporters, was the way both Woo-seok and Hye-yoon carried themselves after the viral lean. They didn't retreat from each other. Didn't suddenly distance themselves to control the narrative. If anything, they seemed more at ease. At the next press event, they stood a little closer. Their laughter was easier. Their energy more relaxed. It wasn't a spectacle, it was a quiet reassurance. Hye-yoon, in particular, seemed to glow differently. Solo interview promoting her new project. A journalist asked her what kind of support she valued most in her life. She smiled and said, "The kind that doesn't need to be loud. Knowing someone is there, even when no one else sees it, that's enough." Fans took that as a subtle nod. Even a whispered confirmation. Byun Woo-seok, on the other hand, continued to maintain his gentle mystery. But during a late-night variety show appearance, asked about the kind of love he finds meaningful, paused before answering. "I like the kind that grows quietly," he said. "Kind that surprises you because it's been there all along." In a world obsessed with speed and spectacle, possible love story felt like a breath of fresh air. It wasn't packaged for views. It wasn't pushed by PR. It was, instead, action of gentle moments. A glance, a lean, a handhold. All the small things that add up to something profound. Fans across the globe began to reflect their story in their own lives. Posts poured in from people saying they believed in love again because of these two. Some said the bond reminded them of old loves they let go of. Others said it gave them hope for the kind of patient affection they had been longing for. The Woo-yoon effect, as it came to be known, wasn't just about one potential relationship, it was about the kind of love the world seemed to have forgotten. And then, just when the storm had begun to settle into something steady and warm, another spark reignited the frenzy. An account shared a candid photo taken outside a quiet art gallery in Samcheongdong. The picture was blurry from a respectful distance, but clearly showed two figures, one tall, in a cream coat, the other shorter, in a black beret, walking closely toward each other. The post didn't claim it was them. It simply captioned, "Sometimes the quietest places speak the loudest." The internet lit up again. But this time, something was different. There was less hysteria, more reverence. Fans weren't demanding answers, they were just grateful to witness what felt like something genuine. No matter how secret, a quiet consensus began to emerge. Maybe we don't need confirmation. Maybe the best love stories aren't told in press releases, but in moments we're lucky enough to catch when no one's watching. So, the world watched less with scrutiny and more with tenderness. Because in a way, Byun Woo-seok and Kim Hye-yoon reminded everyone of something important, that love doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes, it arrives as a lean, a smile, presence that never needs to be explained. And perhaps, that's the most powerful love of all. Their story may never be officially confirmed. They go on living their lives quietly, away from the spotlight. Or maybe one day, they'll walk a red carpet hand in hand and simply say, yes. But even if they don't, what they gave the world in these fleeting, quiet moments was something real. Reminder that the most beautiful connections are often the ones that need no explanation. So let the world speculate. Let the internet search for clues. Let the fans dream. Because for those who saw that lean, and the way she smiled in response, it was already enough. Thank you so much for joining us on this heartfelt journey into the quiet connection between Byun Woo-seok and Kim Hye-yoon. Whether it's just a fleeting moment or the beginning of something truly beautiful, we'll be right here, watching, hoping, and celebrating it with you. Don't forget to subscribe to Red Carpet Revealed for more emotional stories, hidden truths, and the magic behind the stars. Until next time, take care, stay inspired. We'll see you in our next video. Goodbye for now.